Morning, everyone. I hope that everyone is doing good today, April the 22nd. Staying safe and staying healthy. So we're going to talk a little bit today about running your real estate business during the COVID-19 pandemic. While we're doing our presentation, we want this to be interactive. So you guys can put your questions in the chat box. There's going to be a Q&A, and I think also we're going to do a couple polls as well. So when those come up, we'll advise you guys of those as well. I'm Ryan Coleman, president and one of the owners of the Broward and Miami-Dade Real Estate Investors Association, and also president of National REIA. And I'm here with my partner in crime, brother from another mother, the CEO and other owner of REIA, Anish Jave.
Yep, living live from Las Olas in Fort Lauderdale. We're getting ready for a whole different kind of a webinar. We do see you guys getting on board. We're excited to actually have this event, and again, we're growing our businesses the same way, and feeling through this new thing that's going on with all of us. So
absolutely. And our special guest, Kevin Thatcher, owner of Independence Title. Hey, Kevin.
Good morning. How are you guys?
Title King himself.
I love that promo this morning.
There you go.
Great, yeah.
I'm getting good at those Instagram stories,
It's the only thing we can do now. We have to learn to be good at everything we weren't good at before. And,
absolutely.
This has given us a little bit of a challenge, but the good thing is we all work hard, and we're going to be successful no matter what, like we were in 08 and we'll be again now, and just adapt to it. So
absolutely. So guys, we'll give a quick background on us. I know that most of you probably know the three of us, but just in case you don't, I've been in real estate for about 20 years. Actually, Anish got me into real estate. I started out with, getting my realtor's license like most people did. I've done condo conversions, about $350 million worth for one of the third largest converted developers back in the heyday, in the early 2000s. Anish and I owned another company called the Urban Life Design Group, where we were helping homeowners, families of low-income single mothers obtain home ownership opportunities. And then, of course, lost everything in the crash of the market. I was a speculator, not a real investor, and it went total bankrupt in 2007. Found REIA in 2008, joined their mentor program, and about 6 years ago bought all of the companies from our mentors, the REIA and MD REIA. And then in the last year, I've also become president of the National Real Estate Investors Association, over 40,000 members, 110 chapters across the United States. We'll also advise you guys at the end of this too. We have a special call on Friday with National REIA too. So Anish, you want to tell a little bit about yourself?
Yes. So I've been in real estate since probably 1999. I have a degree in finance. I've worked in corporate America for a long time as a banker, auditor. Pretty much, I hated my job is the easiest way I tell people. I started really loving real estate, and like everyone else, I also was a real estate agent, still a real estate agent since 2002. My passion is people. And for us, same thing, I met Brian, we've been friends for about, almost 20 plus years. Was a fantastic speculator from 2004 and 2005 and 2006. Had over, close to $3 million of properties in the height of market, got wiped out. And then just like Brian, we both did a national program. We did REIA's old program, and, wholesaling and investing really, was something new to me, and I couldn't understand how people would actually buy a house and not fix it up, and someone else would buy it on the same day. So to me, being around real estate for a long time, I was shocked to actually hear that you could actually do this. Long story short, obviously Ryan and I became the owners of REIA and the Miami-Dade REIA. And the difference really between the last pandemic or breakdown, I should say, the financial crisis in 2008, I really wasn't prepared. I was scared. I didn't know what the heck I was going to do. This time, I'm in a better situation, or meaning we're at the right place at the right time when we get through this too. So,
absolutely, Kevin Thatcher, tell them a little bit about who the Title King is.
Well, I wasn't always the Title King. I've always loved my job, no matter what I did. I was a firefighter back after high school, and moved down to Florida 20 days before September 11th. And my wife and I came up with the whole strategy about, why I became a firefighter and what I love most about it. It was really being able to go in with my team and getting out with my team and making sure we left no one behind. So that's what we do today. I've been doing this since 2001 down here in South Florida. Opened my first title company. I worked for an attorney prior to. Opened my first title company in 2003. And we've been doing closings ever since. We've done over 10,000 closings. I've authored 5 books. I speak all across the state, many different events, typical to investor clubs like this, as well as real estate events. And we close on average, obviously before the pandemic, we closed, upwards of 80 to 100 closings a month. Our best month was, I think, 126 closings. Now we're down slightly. And the thing is, I follow exactly what Ryan and Anish both say is, I suffered through 2008 and I learned so many lessons, which I wrote about in my recent book, which was titled Rescue Your Business. I wrote about in the book how I survived the global pandemic. I knew what I needed to do. And now I move forward. And here we are. We're here. We're still operating. We've trimmed down as low as we can, and we're rocking and rolling.
Absolutely. And guys, one of the things that Anish and myself and Kevin all share is the fact that we all three went through the crash of the market in 2007, 2008. So, hopefully we've learned our lessons from that time, and that's going to make a big difference to now, because now we know what signs to look for. We know how to adapt to these types of situations. Not exactly, obviously, a pandemic. This is something new to all of us, but the effects on real estate are going to be very similar in regards to a lot of homeowners not being able to pay their mortgages. You got a lot of Airbnb properties that are going to go under. So there's going to be a lot of opportunity and things out there. And one of the things that today we wanted to talk about, and especially having Kevin here as our special guest, is that he's really on that front line. Him and his title company, they are the people that are, still going into the office and still running their business so that we as investors and people in real estate can still have our closings and still get things done. So we definitely applaud Kevin and thank him and his team for still putting themselves out there like that. And like you said, he was a fireman, before. So Kevin knows what it's like to be on the front line a lot. So what are we going to talk about today? We're going to talk about how to market your business, virtual open houses and inspections, screening clients, and obviously all of these things are during the pandemic. How to close a deal during this pandemic, COVID-19 tools of the trade, the remote online notarization technology, which is something kind of interesting that we just talked to Kevin about last week, because we actually have a closing coming up that they're working on. And then the new COVID-19 addendum that Kevin's going to explain to you guys as well. So, Kevin, how do we market our business in this type of pandemic?
It's actually one of the toughest things that I see business owners are having, because you're trained from being a very young child to do things the way your parents always taught you, and you know how to do things the way you've always been doing it. And I think that's one of the number one challenges we're seeing people have, is they don't know how to adapt to the technology. They don't really know how to switch their business on and off to different types of marketing. So when we're looking at a global pandemic, it's how do you really make it into an opportunity? How do you turn it into an opportunity? So for us at the title company, we learned early on how we can basically turn a switch on and turn a switch off, cut our expenses, and be able to just market differently. There are no more live events. We don't have a marketing person going to these events and making sure that you're able to set up a table and get business cards and follow up. So how do you switch your business? And a lot of people watching this are real estate agents, they're investors, and now more than ever, you watch all of these webinars, like double down on social media marketing. I'm like, well, maybe not. Because for us as a title company, we pull back on our social media marketing because it's a different type of different method of marketing. we're looking at a lot of wholesalers that were spending, $30,000, $40,000 a month in marketing, and they're part of these, $250,000 masterminds. And, they think they're going to double down on marketing. And I'm like, not necessarily. You have to really look at what is your business and how are you going to market your business. So we talk about, marketing your business differently for investors. You may want to start looking at distressed owners as opposed to other types of properties, understanding that we may be entering a foreclosure crisis. If you start looking at the amount of people that are on unemployment right now, and remember that I watched a webinar today, 65% of those people that are on unemployment they're homeowners. So even if after the global pandemic is gone, they were saying that even if there's still 5 million people out of work, 65% of 5 million people, there's a lot of people that are going to go into foreclosure. And if you think by stopping to pay your rent and stopping to pay your mortgage is going to help you, it's not, because all it's going to do is roll it into the next 90 days and you're going to owe it at the end, unless they get smart and start tacking it onto the back of the mortgage. So we have to really start looking at the marketing and say, what are the trends in a global pandemic similar to a market crash? And what are we going to do different? What are we going to target with online marketing? And if you weren't doing online marketing before, understand that if you just click the boost button in Facebook, you're doing yourself a disservice and you're going to waste a lot of money. We've spent tens of thousands of dollars on Facebook marketing. You need to know properly how to do it. The boost button doesn't work, and just posting on social media doesn't work. You need to come up with a strategy. So when we talk about marketing your business, and I know Ryan and Anish can chime in on this, you need to have a strategy. That's number one, a strategy on who you're going to target, how are you going to target them, and have a plan in place. And even if you decide that you're going to pull back on your marketing like we did, we're ready to turn that switch on. And as soon as that switch turns on, we have an entire plan ready to go in order to just launch back into the market. So you need to be smart about it. Don't waste your money. Sit on the sidelines, come up with a strategy, and then just go right at it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I was just going to add to that is that basically you also have to track it. I know, we were, same thing, we were very new to the social media portion. We've been lucky to have a fantastic SEO, search engine optimization guy that, people do find us, but we had no idea what the tracking was previously. So we'd say, oh yeah, we'll try these Facebook ads and spend a bunch of money. It must have worked. Or maybe we did this meetup. So I'm not even sure how many of you guys actually even found this webinar, right? It could have been from our website, our text message services. Maybe it's a meeting. We are tracking to really see, what our return on investment is as we go through this pandemic. Same thing, our marketing budget went down a little bit, but we're being a lot more efficient.
Absolutely. A lot of times in business, they talk about, getting in early, right? Like if there's a new IPO, a new stock, some new company or something, the people that got in early were the ones that benefited the most. Well, it's the same thing when it comes to marketing. When there's a new platform, the people that got into Facebook early, the people that got into Instagram early were the ones that got a stranglehold on it and can do it very, very well. Kevin and his team in Independence Title, they do very good, effective marketing on their social media platforms. So it's really about thinking a little bit of ahead, not waiting for other people to do it and then watch them and necessarily duplicate. You got to think a little bit ahead and say to yourself, okay, in marketing my business, the first thing you want to start with is how does this COVID-19 pandemic affect my business, right? So if you look at the things and ways that it's affecting it, those are problems that you have. So then you just need to find the solutions to those. So for us, and like Kevin mentioned too, the networking meetings, we used to have, our BRIA meetings with 250 people at the Signature Grand, and that's not going to happen probably for a while. And so, we're looking at now utilizing platforms like Zoom and incorporating that and marketing those larger meetings and webinars and even webinars like the one today on our social media platforms, which is not necessarily different than what we were doing before the pandemic, but we're now just a little bit more focused because we don't have this face-to-face. So you just kind of have to make those tweaks in your marketing strategies. And like Kevin said, you have to have a plan, knowing, thinking a little bit ahead of where this is going. I mean, if we're all going to be on quarantine for another 30 days, how is that going to affect your business, and how can you continue to market your business? We've told a lot of our students that, right now people might not want to have the conversation about, selling their house, especially if they're living in it, if it's a primary residence, while they're under quarantine. But what you can do is change your marketing a little bit and maybe just make a contact with people, plant seeds, let them know that, we are a resource of information. We are directly connected with the National Real Estate Investors Association. The National Real Estate Investors Association, they have constituents that deal directly. We have a team that deals direct with Washington. And our CEO, Charles Tassel, he speaks to senators and congressmen and governors on the phone personally. So we are on that front line of having that information. So I tell my students, listen, utilize that. You're a member of RIA, so that means you're a member of National RIA, and you get that benefit. There's a call every single Friday. So our students have been reaching out to, especially landlords, people tired of being landlords that live out of state. They've been advising them of this call on Fridays to bring them some value, bring them some education, saying, hey, listen, I'm not calling you today about buying your house. I'm calling you just to let you know that there's a free resource of information that, since you're a real estate owner, since you're a property owner, this thing is obviously affecting you. And any new legislation or rules or regulations when it comes to rentals and things that come out, then it's obviously going to affect you. And that's one of the effective things that Kevin's been doing as well, is paying attention to the rules and regulations and legislation, again, the things that affect his business. So,
one of the things to remember also is, and I love, a lot of times when I speak at these events, I tell people, what are you? You're a real estate investor? And they're like, well, I'm a real estate investor. I'm like, great. Oh, I'm a realtor. Great. I own a title company. Great. I'm a hard money lender. Great. No, you're not. You're a therapist. You are a therapist solving problems for people in the local community. That's all you are. So we have people that come to us with problems, and we simply solve their problems. And we make sure we do it the best way possible. So, whether we're working with large real estate firms, teaching them how to generate more business, it's all about problem solving. I know you guys do the same thing. I speak at your boot camps, and we pack a room full of people, 30 people at a boot camp, and all we're doing is solving a problem, because what do they want to do? They want to live a life that they weren't able to live when their family members or their spouse and significant other or their parents are telling them, you got to go to work, you got to get a 9-to-5 job, you got to bring home the check. And they want a bigger opportunity. They want a bigger piece of the puzzle. And how do you do that? You solve a problem. You bring them into a room, you teach them how to do something, and you solve their problem. So, I look at it and say, we're more therapists than anything, and it's all about solving problems. I hear my staff on the phone all day long with people just solving problems. If it was easier, everyone would be doing it. So you just become a really good problem solver, and that's how you set yourself apart from the competition and market differently in these, tough economic times.
Yeah. And what I was just going to add is, since, we have a lot of different people on the call, I'm going to shoot up a little poll. I just want to see how many investor properties you guys have bought in the last 12 months. So I'm just going to launch a poll, and you guys could, if you've done none in the last 12 months, you could check that. 1 to 3, 3 to 6, 7 or more. This gives us a good idea of who's listening in, and we could answer some more questions towards that end of it. So I'll put that poll up there for another minute, and go ahead and just click through.
Yeah, and something to remember, you see this poll, look at these numbers, guys. 65% have never done a deal. What does that tell you? They're here looking for an opportunity because maybe they're out of work, they got laid off, they're looking for a different direction in their business. And now more than ever, they're on this call and they have an opportunity to work with people from BRIA. People are always like, well, Kevin, how do I work with you? I'm like, well, you got to go work with Ryan and Anish first. Because until you work with them, you're not going to know what you're doing. There's no sense in calling me and saying, I was told I need a good title company. Well, no, first you need to get a deal, and then you need a good title company, by working with you guys. So, this poll alone tells us it's a huge opportunity right now for people that are on this call that want to change their life. You're looking for something different during this global pandemic, and now you have the resource. You found this presentation. So
yeah, I'll give you guys another 15 seconds, and then I'll share the poll with all you guys out there. So obviously Kevin and myself and Ryan could see the results, and
I thought everyone was able to see that. Sorry, I didn't mean to ruin that one.
They'll see it in a few minutes. So one of the things actually I do want to even, Ryan and Kevin were talking about, new ways of marketing. Ryan and I, and Kevin's more technologically savvy than Ryan and I. You would think the Indian guy would be have some technology background. I do not. So we're learning hands-on, working with Zoom, working these webinars, and trying to make it something educational and beneficial for everybody too. So.
Absolutely. And you guys, Kevin made a good point. For those of you that have not done a deal yet and you're looking and saying to yourself, okay, now is I think the time that I need to get in, you'd be exactly right. This is the time to get into real estate because unfortunately, of course, we don't wish for these types of situations, but we don't control it. We didn't create the pandemic. We're just going to be here to clean up the mess when the pandemic, starts to loosen up, and when people start to go back to work. There's still going to be a lot of people that aren't going back to work. There's going to be a lot of people that are losing their properties, and we're going to be helping them. Anish and I did a presentation about a week ago, and he had one of his favorite quotes from Warren Buffett. You remember the quote, Anish?
It was something to the nature, be greedy whenever. Yeah.
Be fearful when others are greedy, and greedy only when others are fearful. And it was funny because I was on a webinar with Chris Goff last night, a national educator, and he said the exact same quote. That's one of his favorite Warren Buffett quotes. But Anish and I looked at that, and the reality is that during this time is when you need to be greedy. You need to be thinking to yourself, okay, I want to take control back of my life, get my financial freedom, and I'm going to take advantage of this situation because guess what? If there's not another pandemic, which I've never had a pandemic in the 48 years that I've been on this planet, the next market crash could be or correction could be another 10 years from now. So now is the time, guys. So what's our results from the poll?
Yeah, so 65%, everyone could actually see this now. 65% of you guys have not done a deal in the last 12 months, 29%, 1 to 3. We got 2%, 3 to 6, and we got a couple people that are really out there doing deals, 7 or more deals, 5%. So meaning you're not alone. You're at the right place at the right time. So don't ever think, I remember when I first started, Ryan, you probably could say the same. I was like, oh my God, I don't know what I'm doing. This is too scary. All of us, including Kevin, we all had to start from somewhere. So don't beat yourself up. This is the first step.
And something to know by looking at the poll, you see it's 4 people that have done 3 or more deals in the last 12 months. So even the people that have done 1 to 3 deals in the last 12 months, you're still going to struggle. You're still going to need to learn different technologies in order to survive the global pandemic. Real estate agents that were doing 1 deal a month are going to have to figure out a solution. You can't say, oh my God, I need this SBA loan, the EIDL loan. Oh, I need that 10 grand to help me. Then you found out 10 grand wound up being 1 grand, which maybe we'll talk about a little bit later. But what you thought was going to help you survive is no longer available. So you need to figure it out yourself. And you have a great team like this that are here to help guide you. So that poll is really cool.
All right, Kevin, virtual open houses and inspections. Now that people are not going to want to go to an open house. We're not going to want to be tracing people through houses. How are we going to deal with this?
Who would want to? Who would want to go inside a house right now, in a house that you don't know who's in there? Recently, you saw a couple months ago, my grandmother passed away. So I was the executor of the estate. So we've been working on getting our house sold. And, so I saw it from the real estate agent side about a lot of things that we were able to do to market the house properly. So, this came at great timing because I just went through this whole process. Now, full disclosure, I've had a real estate license. I've had a real estate broker's license for many years. I've had a real estate broker's license before I had my title company, and I hang it with Charles Rutenberg Realty, which obviously, you guys have your license there. I'm a non-competing broker with them, so I help broker the agents, add value, and earn the opportunity to get their title work for the last 14 years. And one of the things that I learned going through this process is, we need to do things a little bit differently. We need to take things now virtually. And I'll tell you, I invested a lot of money in doing a virtual tour of the house. I hired a very nice guy, came in, did this whole virtual tour. You were pretty much able to walk from the front door of the house through every room, up, down, left, right. The home sold in guess how long?
3 hours.
6 hours. 6 hours. The first agent called, said, we love the house. We want to go see it. They put in an above asking price, full price offer. So
You listed it too low.
Listed it too low. You know, listen, possibly, or we just listed it right and provided the technology for some. Now, this was pre-global pandemic, but, you know, now we're talking about global pandemic, and what do? So we're talking about virtual open houses and how do you walk your clients in the house via Zoom. I will tell you, since the pandemic, the home inspector went, did the inspection in the house, and utilized Zoom technology to show the buyer the things in the house that they found, good, bad, ugly, different, whatever the case may be. The appraiser went to the house for the bank because the buyer's getting a loan and did the same thing. Got the buyer on Zoom and was able to walk them through the house and show them everything that added to the value of the property to justify the price. So what, you know, when you're talking about how do you do things different, well, for sure you don't want to walk in that house with a seller that was maybe just online. It's funny, right outside our office, right on Commercial, line was wrapped from our office all the way around by the Executive Airport and all the way back around to Commercial. I guess they opened up a testing site at the church right here. Do you want to walk through a house with a seller that was just online at that testing site? Absolutely not. You know, so you need to be careful in these times, and you need to learn, like, what do you do different in order to adapt to the market? So virtual open houses and inspections, you know, and
I'll tell you, this is nothing new, really. I mean, Anish and I had a company 2 years ago. Anish, you remember that company that they basically take a camera, they go through the entire house, and then you get these headset goggles that you can put on, and you could literally be standing anywhere, and when you turn your head, you can literally look 360 into the kitchen, the master bathroom, like all of these things. And of course, you know, Anish and I were like, okay, yeah, this $4,000 piece of equipment is something that we don't really need right now, because we don't need to do that with our open houses. Usually, if Anish and I do a rehab, we sell our houses pretty quickly. So, but you know, you guys as real estate agents, and you know, if you're rehabbers that are doing a lot of properties, this kind of technology now is something, you know, to pay attention to. Compass Realty, Anish and I were invited to Compass Realty in New York. I think that was about 2 years ago as well. We did the combined for the NFL players. Anish and I were teaching NFL players. But Compass Realty, one of the things that they kind of have a stranglehold on is changes in new technology. And all of these, you know, things we've seen on Shark Tank, all of these, you know, door lock technologies and things now. We don't need lock boxes anymore. You know, so there is the technology. It has been out there. Now it just needs to be applied in this way. So again, we talked about being there first. So you guys that are real estate agents, you know, if it was me, I'd be trying to get my virtual game completely to the top right now. I would even be considering that we're never getting out of this quarantine, and that I'm going to be selling every house virtually, because if you are that forerunning person, you know, in your market that's doing that, and you're the go-to person, then, you know, that's going to give you an edge.
Listen, it comes down to what we said earlier. How do you market your business different? I hope I never have to do another face-to-face closing. If we can get everything to go virtually.
Come on, Kevin. You know you love seeing me in the office.
I do, but you know, the technology, you know, and we're going to talk about it, so I don't want to spill the beans on the technology as to why I feel remote closings are even safer than face-to-face. Forget about the health reasons. But a little shameless, can I promote one quick thing here? So just a little promotion for, I mean, we have over 100 people on here. If you follow our Facebook page, we're going live on Friday, as long as our technology works, with someone that does these goggle virtual tours. We're having on as a guest on our call on Friday. So if you want to see that technology, it's great stuff.
Hey, Kevin, what do you know what the charge was for that virtual tour that you did for your grandma's, give or take? People were, I just had a question.
I think $150.
So, I mean, it's not going to break the bank. The point is.
No, and it's photos too. So they did like the whatever 40+ photos for the MLS as well. So they did all the professional photos and the virtual tour. So.
And think about it this way, guys, too. I mean, you still have a little bit of a budget. You're out there buying balloons and putting the signs out, and you're buying food and beverages and things for people when they come there. And as a real estate agent, if you're a top agent and you're sitting in a house all day doing an open house, you know, you're taking time away from possibly getting some other leads. So this is going to also open up the opportunity to say, great, I've got an open house. I just, went there one time. I did my virtual tour. I've got it now on film. I've got the video of it. And now anybody that wants to see the house can see it anytime. And now as the agent, you can go on and start looking, working on some other leads too.
The thing is, people forgot. They, in the heyday, all they did was they put property on the MLS, and great. They wound up selling a property. You put one photo, which was probably from the old MLS, and you put it on the MLS, and demand was so high, and the property sold. But the thing is, if you do it properly and you stage the house properly and you take professional photos, light and bright, and use your lighting, and you make it an environment that someone's going to want to walk through that house and put a contract. And the people who are like, wow, I thought you professionally staged this house. I'm like, no, we just opened the windows and took nice photos and cleaned it up. We just made it look nice. We didn't put furniture and all that. It was what was existing. So, it definitely makes sense to have it professionally done.
100%. Now, screening clients.
Yeah, I mean, being a firefighter for years, obviously I have a love for that industry, firefighters, police officers. I have my best friend's a police officer. And, you just hear about all of the unfortunate issues that happen when people put desperate people into their house. They don't get their photo ID. I can never understand how a real estate agent gets a phone call to show a property and they go show it. You can just Google all of the news stories about people that get harmed, and they get many different crimes happen. We're not going to start announcing them on here of what happens to real estate agents, but self-defense is important. We were actually having on March 25th a self-defense class that we stopped, obviously, due to the pandemic. But it was a class talking about how do you protect yourself. So we talk about screening clients. Why? Because you want to make sure, A, they're a real buyer, B, that they actually exist. They kind of look somewhat normal, and they're not crazy finding people from Craigslist. I saw another investor posted on social media that someone was listing his property that he had for sale for rent on Craigslist. So if you're an investor or something, who knows who's going to show up at your house. So, Zoom is now a great method to be able to do kind of a little buyer or seller interview prior to even going to see the client. Hop on a Zoom call, get to feel them a little bit, get to know who they are, what they're about, have your questions available. When we talk about the online notarization, that's even another option for you to kind of screen them a little bit, and we'll talk about that, but there's a little bit of a security check, and we verify their identification. So you may even have a screening questionnaire for them to fill out with an online notary and get that document done. So this way we kind of capture their information. I'll talk about the technology when we get to that part. So screening clients now more than ever is important. You're not going to get, their blood type, but you want to make sure who are you putting in your car, who are you meeting at a property to make sure you're safe. That's the important.
Hey, Kevin, I do have a question. Do you know the company? Someone's asking what was the virtual company
I do. Yes. So okay. Let me just, I'm just going to bring up, so if you don't mind me, I'm just going to look on my other screen while you're talking, and let me try and get the information.
Yeah, while Kevin's looking for that information, I'll just let you guys know, last Friday on the National RIA call, we had the owner of Rent Perfect. Rent Perfect is a provider, is one of the corporate members of National RIA. And just so if you guys don't know either, Kevin in Independence Title is a corporate member of RIA and MD RIA. So what the owner of Rent Perfect was telling us is he had a quick story that they were doing a virtual screening, and a property manager had sent someone to a property to go and take a look at it, and they were ready to sign the paperwork and everything else. And the owner of the property, they had some concerns because they said that the potential tenant was not able to answer certain key questions, basically, due to, or that the questions were about, their address and their identity. So they were kind of skeptical a little bit about it. They got Rent Perfect involved. Rent Perfect ran a quick check. They specialize in screening of new tenants. And come to find out, he compared the actual pictures of the person that showed up at the property and the pictures of the person it was supposed to be, and they were not even near the same person. So they knew it was fraudulent. So they actually found out, and the people think, thank goodness, never rented the property. But you have these situations that come up all the time. So when you have companies like Rent Perfect, there are a lot of national companies that do and provide services like this for us as property owners, as people that are renting out properties, in order to be able to screen your clients. So just be aware that anytime there's a situation like this and a change, you're going to see. I just with Kevin, I've seen now 2 Craigslist fraudulent alerts, and people are. There are certain people that in society that when situations like this come up, they're looking for opportunity of how to defraud you.
Yeah, and I put the information in the chat for the person. It was actually $200, so it was $50 more than I thought, but $200 and still well worth every penny spent.
Yep, and since Ryan was actually talking about Rent Perfect, I know some of you guys are actually members of our organization. There are a lot of other benefits out there, including Home Depot, Rent Perfect, Office Depot. So I'm just going to put a quick poll on there if you guys are interested in learning more about our membership. So go ahead and answer the poll while we're still chatting.
Yeah, while you guys are filling out the poll, the idea is that the Broward Real Estate and Miami-Dade Real Estate Investors Associations are the only chapters in South Florida of the National Real Estate Investors Association. We pay a very large membership fee. We are audited every single year. All of our programs are educational. They want to know who our corporate members are, like Independence Title. And so they vet every single club. So just be careful, first of all, if you're doing business with any type of real estate investors association, make sure that they are affiliated with national, because that's the only regulating body that would regulate how they do their business. Otherwise, they could just do their business any way they want. And we know there's a lot of fraud in real estate, so be very careful. But the idea is that because you are a member of RIA or MD-RIA, if you're a member of our organizations, then the national RIA benefits automatically get extended to you for free. So, like Anish said, we have, companies like Rent Perfect. We have Home Depot program, 2% cash back, 20 to 30% off of paint. There's appliance packages, there's cabinetries, and the 2% cash back. Anish, our members spent, what'd you say,
our members at BRIA spent close to $9 million last year. Nationally, between all the organizations, we did $1.8 billion. So we're talking about some big numbers, and that's not including the paint portion, which you get right on top. So these are all important things. The other question I got, how much is our membership? Our individual membership is $249 for the year. So you do get all those national RIA benefits. We definitely have different seminars where there's member pricing, non-member pricing. Once we go back to live events, our members get to come in for free for our monthly meetings. So basically, if you're actually using the membership, you should recoup plus put some money in your pocket too. So.
Oh, 100%. As president of National RIA, my board members still kind of tease us because they've been telling Anish and I that we are on the low end, meaning that we have one of the lowest prices of our memberships to our organizations, and we are also 2 of the largest RIAs in the entire country. So take advantage of it now before we raise our prices.
And what we'll do is afterwards, if you ever want, and we'll give you our information. So if you want to know more about our membership, the benefits, we'll gladly talk to you about that too.
I think the best part of membership, and I talk about this at all the events I go to, is that you get the access to people such as me and other vendors that are trusted and the go-to people, where if you were to call the office and just want to come in and sit down, it wouldn't be as easy to be able to schedule an appointment as it would be if you see me at the table at the BRIA event, or you come to the boot camp and you literally get to sit there and pick my brain, where I don't allow that if you were to just call the office to come in and do that. Because it happens every day. People call all day long. So, you're getting the 15 or 20 years of experience times 10, 15 vendors that are their go-to people. That alone is worth the $200-300 a year. So
yeah, and the other benefit, equity trust, that we use them for our self-directed IRAs. We're actually doing a deal right now, a probate deal that Kevin's office is handling, and Ryan and I are actually buying it in our Roth IRA. So one of the cool things is that it's going to be tax-free, But the cooler thing for me was Amber on Kevin's team has worked with equity trusts so many times that she's like, oh yeah, this is going to be easy. So, you know, the better you get at this, having the right partner, it makes your life easier. And I don't know if you know about Amber's has been a superstar working on this deal and really making it painless for Ryan and I. So
awesome. That's great to hear. Yeah, listen, I mean, you know, when we talk about it, you want to look at it and not use a title company that's closing 2, 3, 4 deals a month because they haven't seen everything. They don't know how to adapt to COVID-19. They don't know how to adapt to a market crash. They don't know how to adapt to different ways of buying and selling real estate and transactional funding and using self-directed IRAs to get, you know, tax-deferred property. They just don't understand it. So you want to make sure you're using people like my company or others that are, there's plenty of title companies that do deals. Just make sure you're using one that has the experience. Like if you came to me with a short sale, you know, Ryan and Anish do a lot of short sales and they use another title company for them because we don't specialize in short sales. We focus on wholesale deals, lower priced, large volume of deals where some of the other title companies are able to negotiate short sales and it's just what they're good at. And, you know, so you need to ask questions and make sure you're doing business with people that you know, like, and trust, but have experience in that side of the topic that, you know, you're trying to work on.
Yep. And we don't do short sales and independents, but all of our probates and wholesale deals and everything else goes through independent title for sure. So Kevin, how are we going to close these deals during the COVID-19? You want to talk a little bit about some of the adaptation that you guys have made and how we're getting these closings done? Yeah,
absolutely. And we're going to talk about it in another couple of minutes. I think the next slide is the slide after when we talk about remote notarization. For those of you that are watching, the state of Florida did pass the statute as of January 1st to allow what's called remote online notarization, which we will talk about and get into more in depth. But that basically means that instead of sitting face to face with a notary, we're able to do it on a similar platform to Zoom, which is, you know, obviously a lot more secured. But how do you close a deal and make it the new norm? So, you know, we start from getting a contract executed. You're using DocuSign or another type of electronic signing platform. It's very, very important. You do not need to be face-to-face. You can do these platforms and be able to sign documents remotely and walk people through the closing. We can send notaries to the house and they look in the window and watch them sign as the documents are explained to them, and then they notarize them. There's drive-through closings. You can come up to our office and close. You can't get in our office, but you can come up and close at a folding table out front. You know, we'll put table and chairs, we disinfect it, and you can come and close. We just don't allow people in our office. So how to close a deal? Easily, we can close it. You just need to make sure there's a company that can adapt. We had an attorney call us yesterday and was arguing because he wanted to bring his client into the office, his seller into the office to close the deal. And we're like, absolutely not. He's like, why not? I have a long drive from Miami. I'm like, especially not from Miami. We're not letting people in. They have the most cases in Florida. So,
hey, man, watch that. I'm in Miami right now.
But we're just not doing it. We need the safety and well-being of our clients. You know, we had an employee that had a little bit of a cold, stay home for a week, you know, where normally that person would come into the office. So we're doing everything we can to be cautious to make sure we can close as many deals as possible. So there are many ways in order to be able to close a deal. And when we talk about remote online notarization, it doesn't change for us. We've been doing that for quite some time. It's just you watching have not been doing it via technology. You haven't been using DocuSign and remote notarization and e-recording and things like that. We've been doing it. We've been using e-recording since 2013, where everyone's trying to figure out how to do it now. You know, there were about 10 counties in the state of Florida that were not on electronic notarization. Imagine they're all on it now. So go figure. Somehow they figured out this. So COVID-19, besides the downturn in a little bit of business, which we're able to survive because we've planned properly for it, this was a blessing for our industry. It taught us so much of how we adapt and get others to adapt to the changing technology. So we can close a deal now more than ever using technology, and it's great.
Yeah. Hey, Kevin, just a quick question. I got someone asked me about, what do you charge for title and lien searches for like preliminary?
We don't just do preliminary because those are probably someone asking a question that's buying at the courthouse. We only pull title and lien searches if we are doing the closing. If you want a resource, we do have our guest from yesterday. You can actually look up on our Facebook page. Yesterday, we had Clear Choice Tax and Lien Search. They can pull preliminary title data, and they can do preliminary lien searches. You would just set up an account and pay them directly. We only get involved in the deal if we're doing an actual closing, because those expenses are invoice. So we'll charge invoice for a title search and a lien search. We don't make any money from it, where some of these other title companies upcharge their lien search and title search. So it's actually a revenue stream for them. We don't. Right. We just charge costs. So check out our Facebook page. That information is on there.
Also, I just another question for General, just so you guys know. I know we talked about our memberships. Our membership, if you become a member, it's the Miami-Dade RIA. It is not the Dade RIA. So we're separate organizations. Your membership works for RIA and Miami-Dade RIA. Again, we're the only approved chapter in Dade County. So.
Yes, we are not DRIA, the Dade Real Estate Investors Association. Different. If you look at our logo, MD RIA. And also, do you need to be a real estate agent to enter the RIA? No, you do not need to be a real estate agent to enter the RIA. As a matter of fact, a lot of our members and a lot of our students that are flipping properties are not real estate agents. You do not have to be a real estate agent to be in real estate. And then there was another question too that said, will joining a RIA assist me in getting deals? Well, of course, guys, because think about it this way. You know, it's the people around you. When you join the Broward or Miami-Dade Real Estate Investors Association, guess what? You get to talk to people like Kevin Thatcher of Independence Title and his team. You get to have Anish and I, refer you to, contractors and flooring people and hard money lenders and those kind of things. So, joining an organization like this can only help and support your real estate business.
That's the best benefit. The best benefit is having the resource of people.
Yep. So what are our COVID-19 tools of the trade now? This is going to be something new.
Yeah, well, I mean, in one sense, there are a lot of people that were utilizing these tools and have been very successful at it. So we'll talk about, as a realtor or an investor, doing virtual inspections are very, very important. A lot of the inspectors are now starting to do virtual inspections, whether it's via Zoom or they have their own software. DocuSign is very, very important. When we talk about Zoom, I just saw a webinar I was on last night. One of my virtual mentors was saying the owner of Zoom made $4 billion, not the price of the stock, the profit. The net profit was $4 billion from COVID-19. You think, and I don't know how true that is, we'd have to fact check it, but it makes sense that everyone switched to these Zoom type platforms. So, you're going to use DocuSign, you're going to use Zoom, you're going to use virtual tours, you're going to use online remote notarization, you're going to use electronic recording. These are the tools of virtual world. Think about it. If you were utilizing someone, a lot of people know, we've used virtual assistants for some time, and they're like, well, they may be overseas. And I'm like, you wouldn't know the difference if they're overseas or they're sitting in the next cubicle, because all of our software is virtual. We have voice over IP telephones and computer systems, and we use all of the tools of the trade. So if these large companies like Microsoft and Google are all doing it, why can't you, being the solopreneur, right? We don't call you the entrepreneur. You may not have a business. You're the solopreneur. You're just you. And it's you and your business, and you need to adapt to some of the tools of the trade. We're using a program called StreamYard, which is basically, for those of you that are watching on this webinar, you could also be watching on our Facebook page and our YouTube channel, because these types of events are streamed. So we stream. So you're looking for video streaming tools as well. So it's about how do you adapt and take these tools and be a problem solver. So, we mentioned lots of them here. A lot of them have a cost to them. Some of them are free. As long as they're not custom branded to you, but you can use DocuSign, electronic notarization, streaming apps, social media, and you can take your business to the next level regardless of the COVID-19 or not, because whether it's COVID-19 or it's going to be the market correction of 2021 or 2022 or on, we don't really know. But when that market correction comes, setting yourself apart from the competition, learning from COVID-19, and suffering through it and coming out on top of your game is going to teach you when that market correction happens.
Absolutely. Yep. Anish, is there any questions that popped up?
Yeah, just a couple. Kevin, actually, a lot of people are asking about your information, how to get a hold of you.
Facebook.
We got that, the last slide, guys. The last slide is going to have all the contact information for both of us. So if you guys just wait till the end, there's phone numbers and emails for us as well.
Awesome.
Yep.
All right. Okay. Remote online notarization technology. Kevin started talking a little bit about this. So this was just passed recently, right?
Yeah, so the law for me to be able to be the remote notary via video conference and do the closing with you, the buyer or the seller, was just passed in January. So now everybody is hopping on the bandwagon to become in Florida what's called a RON, R-O-N. You see remote online notarization. It's short for RON is short for remote online notarization. So to become a RON signing agent, everyone is running to do it now. The reality is us as a title company, we're the first title company in the entire state of Florida to be RON approved, to be able to do a RON closing. Now, everyone's saying, well, how were you able to do it before everyone else? It's because we were utilizing the same technology, but with a Virginia notary that approved remote online notarization. So instead of sitting with me as the title company, you're sitting with our closer that is sitting in Virginia doing remote online notarization. Our underwriter, which is a nationally recognized underwriter, was the first underwriter to spearhead the program of saying we will accept remote online notarization closings in the state of Florida. And Kevin Thatcher being our one of our top 5 title companies in the state, you are the first one to be approved to do it. So we've been doing that. January 2018, we were approved to do it. So this wasn't anything new for us. We're just now able to physically do the remote online notarization ourselves. So let's talk about what is it. So think about when you sit with a closer and you hand them your identification. Does the notary even look at your ID to see it's you? I don't know, maybe, maybe not. What fact checks do they do to make sure you didn't find that ID out on the street or duplicate it or print it on a home printer? You know, what are they really doing to make sure that that's actually you? Does it look like you? Was it 85 pounds heavier? Was it 10 years ago? You know, did you have hair? Now you don't have hair? Hey. You know what I'm saying? But that's the whole idea. So when we talk about remote online notarization, this is a technology security-based platform, similar to like if you were to apply for a credit card online, they're going to ask you some fact check security questions like, what type of car out of these 4 did you have, which they're getting from what's called a soft pull on your credit report? What street did you maybe live on out of these 3? And it may be 3 or none of the above. So you're going to look at them and be like, oh, I lived on that street. So after you go through a series of fact checks, you must be a U.S. citizen or a U.S. resident with a credit history, because we're pulling soft credit, and you must be in the United States of America. So you cannot be overseas. You cannot be a foreign national. You must be a U.S. citizen or a resident alien. You must have a social security number with about a 3 to 5 year credit history. You go through the security checks. Then you enter the virtual closing room where we have on the call the notary, the person signing, and any witnesses that are required for the document. So if it's a deed, we'll have 1 witness in the room with us. And we are going to remote sign these documents, similar to DocuSign, but a lot more secure, because I would trust in court my video showing you signing than a notary who may or may not even still be alive or may or not be able to be reached to do an affidavit stating that you remember this closing from 5 years ago. What's going to happen now moving forward is when these foreclosures happen and they subpoena the records, we're going to walk into the courthouse with the actual video showing you signing and that you were approved. So if anything, this is changing the game and the landscape of closings to make it much more secure. Who loves it? Title companies. Who hates it? Attorneys. They poke holes in everything. You know, they're poking holes that it may not be valid. How do you really know? And now they're starting to get on board. The one caveat... I was
just going to say, Kevin, not to cut you off, you know what's interesting about that, attorneys not liking that. You know what attorneys have been doing for years in depositions? They've been using video depositions as basically saying, okay, this person said this, like instead of them signing something, they're getting the, you know, the video of it. So I'm curious as to why attorneys would have an issue with that.
I mean, they're just talking about the validity of the non-wet signed documents, the non-wet signed stuff, you know. But now, since the law passed, now they're all getting on board because they realize now more than ever they're not going to be able to close deals without it. So, you know, it's very, very important. But imagine walking into a foreclosure where you say, I didn't sign those documents, and you have a video saying you did. How would I know who signed a document? And yes, if I have their ID in my file and it's my signature, I can assume that that was me. But imagine if you have a video to actually prove you were sitting there. It is so powerful. So I love it.
I just want to tell you a funny story. Was about a week and a half ago, we closed on a deal, and I did use the notary, you know, the technology with the notary. You know, obviously being at home, I didn't realize they didn't warn me that there'd be a video. So all of a sudden it clicks on. I had to run and put on a shirt. So just make sure you're dressed in case it does have to go to court. The last thing you want is a video. At least the last thing I want a video is me without a shirt trying to sign.
But the technology platform is a game changer, which is why I said earlier, you know, I hope they all go online because it's just safer. But what I was saying is, so the one caveat is if there are realtors or lenders watching, a lot of the lenders, the conventional Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac lenders, are not on board with this technology. There's very few. They're starting to, because until COVID-19, they didn't have a reason to. So they are starting to, but a lot are not.
Yeah. We had another question that's, are banks accepting electronic signatures? And the question was more posed towards short sales. But Kevin, let me ask you this. Aside from short sales, when it comes to, you know, satisfaction of mortgages and things like that, banks have been accepting electronic signatures on that type of document.
Yeah, any document that needs to be legally notarized in the state of Florida may be used via notary. I will tell you the lenders representing, let's say, a buyer, a conventional lender, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, or even the mortgage brokers, whoever they do their loan through, those lenders are not comfortable with that platform to sign the full buyer's loan package, although some of them are doing, like I know Guaranteed Rate does a lot of online. You sign basically like 3/4 of that, you know, 200-page package online, and then they only send a small portion to the actual closing table to be wet signed. And they're even spearheading the technology. They're allowing non-cash out refinances right now to be done via remote online notarization. So our underwriting rep sent to us the other day asking, what lenders do you see doing it? And I'm like, slow down. We don't want to start getting them on the platform yet because they don't know how to do it. We need to wait for them to catch up with everyone else.
Now we had, you know, Anish and I have done hundreds of short sales, and I remember, you know, in 2019, we started using a lot of electronic signatures on things, especially when you have homeowners that, you know, they don't have a printer at home, they don't have a scanner to try to scan out documentation and things like this, whether it's a contract or an addendum or a listing agreement. So we've been using electronic signatures on short sales for a while. We have had a couple documents that came back. Anish, do you happen to remember any specific mortgage servicers or banks that had an issue with any?
You know what? We go through so many of them. Yeah. It's hard to remember. And the funny part is,
a couple of times, but
yeah, it doesn't happen too often. But I think right now with all the pandemic, we haven't had any issues at all. They're all taken.
Yeah, for sure. I can tell you that the banks. Think about it this way: the banks, at least in my opinion. We probably should have put up one of those slides in the beginning. We are not attorneys. This is not to be construed as legal advice or anything like that. Our disclaimer. But I can tell you this, that you know, banks are definitely going to be wanting to get these properties off their books before the end of this year, because you know the banks are hurting as well right now too. Our hopes is that the reaction from the banks is that they're going to be more accepting of short sales. They're going to run the short sales through faster. They're not going to come back at the ridiculous high, you know, prices that they were at before. Because again, a lot of the short sales that Anish and I do, we find out in the end that the owner on that mortgage and note is actually part of a REIT, which is a larger group, or even a hedge fund that owns, you know, hundreds of millions of dollars worth of mortgages. And, you know, they're going to make large movements. They don't look at each individual short sale. They're going to be looking in broad strokes and saying, okay, we need to get rid of this stuff because guess what? They're going to want to buy more properties. They need cash to do that. So they need to get rid of some of these mortgages, get rid of these non-conforming, and do these short sales. So I think they're going to be very adaptive to what needs to get done in order to get the short sale done.
And a lot of it's because they don't know. There was something with lenders where we used to have to physically type the word ISAOA on the title policies, which stands for its successors and or assigns. And that law changed a long time ago when we adopted the 2006 title policy jacket, which didn't come until a few years later. But still to this day, they're like, type ISAOA on here. And I'm like, guys, and sometimes it's easy for me to open it and just type it on with our PDF typer. But I'm like, sometimes I want to just argue with them and prove to them they're wrong. Like, it's just because that's what you were taught. And you were taught something, you have to just learn to adapt. It's not always the way you were taught. It's not always the way you were taught by your parents. You go to college and you leave college and you get a job. Like, there's other opportunities if you happen to be that go-getter. Me personally, I didn't want to go to college. I hated school. And if it wasn't for my high school teacher taking me under his wing, and basically helping me through it, I probably wouldn't have made it through high school. So it's just not for everybody. You need to learn to adapt to what's going on. So COVID-19 shouldn't be a disaster. It should be an opportunity for you to shine and excel and grow, even if you lost your job. Maybe that's telling you something about getting with these guys and learning how to wholesale real estate, because now more than ever, we're entering the correction, and it's going to be a longer opportunity for us, because we're going to have COVID, then the election, and then a market correction, which is just due at some point. Whether it's next year, the year after that, it's coming.
Yeah. Now, speaking of getting documentation signed, I can tell you guys that the first place that I even heard of the COVID-19 addendum was Kevin Thatcher, Independence Title. You had to be one of the first guys on this thing. So tell us about this addendum and what's it all about?
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I mean, a lot of our partners, as we spoke about earlier, you're with Charles Rottenberg Realty and their large network being merged with United Real Estate Group out in Texas. They're on the forefront. They speak on a lot of these boards. They were on the forefront of getting this information as quick as possible out to their agents, which obviously extend to our family as well, because we're always helping them. So there is a COVID-19 addendum. This is what it looks like. It may hide in the green screen. But there is an addendum, and it's just basically to protect all parties. It's to protect all parties just in case, things were to come up. So it talks about the closing date and about extending the closing date due to things that happened from COVID-19. Now, most of you are just asking, well, doesn't the force majeure clause? I'm not an attorney giving you legal advice, but I will tell you there's two sides to every story. Some attorneys say if you were to go to court, the force majeure would qualify as an act of terrorism, an act of war, an act of God. I don't know. Does it? Does a global pandemic necessarily? You losing your job, does that qualify for you to get out of the contract? Well, maybe if you don't qualify for your loan. So what I try and tell people, and they always ask, and I speak about this at your boot camp, is they're like, well, I just want to write a contract. They're going to write a contract on a little Post-it note like this. I said, I don't care. You could write a contract on a paper napkin, and we can close the deal. But if and when something goes sideways and you need to go back to something, that's when you're going to have a problem. So, there's a lot of clauses in here. We don't have time to go through each one, but it talks about closing date, the financing period, if it needs to be extended due to not being able to get an appraisal, maybe. We've been on the forefront of the people saying, all of the mayors and governors and city officials talking about who's it mandatory, not mandatory. Realtors were not allowed to operate. In the city of Coral Springs, title companies were mandated to be closed. So we were fighting all of this. And now, as you know, if you've been watching the news, realtors can operate. They have to follow proper CDC guidelines, maintain social distancing. Appraisers and inspectors can do the same thing. But this COVID addendum came out before appraisers were allowed to go appraise properties and inspectors were allowed to inspect properties. Now they're allowed to. So kind of the COVID addendum may not necessarily apply now because we've all been put in as essential businesses. But you do want to use it in order to protect both parties for a delay in closing. When we talk about the force majeure contract, that's more of an act of God, like a hurricane, and you're not able to bind insurance that the lender requires in order to close. And as I said, attorneys can speak more on it, and you're going to find two sides to every story. But when a contract dispute comes up for a $2,000 deposit, are you really going to hire an attorney and go to court? Probably not. So you're going to wind up negotiating to split that deposit just to make it go away. So if you use the contract addendum, it just gives you more power for both sides to protect the interest of what's going on, with this global pandemic. The same as using the 12-page as-is contract, which realtors get access to. Investors, I know I saw you put the link there for the, I think it's AltaStar. You can get the license to use the contract. So, there's a reason we tell you to use the 12-page contract versus that wholesaling, properties class that you took with your with that coach in Utah that's telling you use this one-page addendum that they use in every state across the country. There's a reason the Florida Realtors and the Florida Bar drafted a 12-page contract to protect all parties. It's not just to protect one side. And for those of you that want a little bit more about how to fill out the contract, we do have a 20-minute tutorial on our website that talks about how to fill out the contract properly. It'll walk you through it. But, this addendum is important to use now more than ever. Until we get through it and everything opens back up, you might as well use it. It can't hurt. It can only help. It's not going to harm you. It's just going to help you.
Yep, absolutely. Anish, any questions that have come in we want to cover real quick?
No, there's some of the, I know some of you guys have really specific questions, so I'm actually helping out. Answering you guys directly. We do have some people asking if we could get a copy of that addendum.
Yeah, if they email me, Kevin@TitleRate.com, I'll be happy to send you the link to the addendum that was sent to us. If you want the video, you can email me as well. I think the website is smartcontractsfl.com, but you can look at our YouTube channel. We have almost 200 videos on there that talk about how to fill out the contract, everything in real estate, which, thank you, Ryan, by the way, we got that from you because you used to do Get You Moving Mondays, and we started doing Title Tuesdays. So we do have a ton of videos on there for you. They always say you want to mirror image those that are successful. So, if I mirror image Ryan to be more successful, you want to join the Broward RIA to be more successful. Mirror image and duplicate what everyone else is doing. No one is going to worry. I talk to title companies all the time about how they're doing business, and we talk together because there's enough business for everyone. We're not competing with each other. There's enough market share for everyone. When other title companies show up at their meeting, I welcome them. I talk to them. We have conversations because what their focus on business isn't my focus on business. They may charge higher fees, do less deals. We charge lower fees and do wholesale deals. So, it's just a different side of the business. So reach out to me. Any questions, shoot me a message on social media. We have an Autobot on our Facebook page for Independence Title. It'll get you a lot of this information. So you can talk to the Autobot. So just look out for all of that stuff. And today we're going live 3 p.m. with another one of your members, one of your corporate members. So just follow us, and we're here to provide added value. Again, as I started, I was a firefighter. I get in the deal together and I leave the deal together. So I want to make sure we get in, get out, get paid together, not alone. Because if I get out without you, if you don't get paid, I don't get paid. So
there's another question on here too. Do you have a list of different COVID-19 rules regarding the appraisers, inspectors, agents, and so forth? We talked about this on the National RIA call. So guys, there's no laws that have been put, in place for these kinds of things. But as far as the rules go, it's the social distancing rules. If an appraiser is going to go to a property, they're most likely that appraiser is going to ask that if someone is living in the property, that they are not inside the property while they're doing their appraisal. We had a student actually go 2 days ago to take pictures of the property, and the owner of the property, they weren't living in it at the time, but they met them there, but they stayed outside so that they are not within 6 feet of one another. Inspectors and handyman, like if there's a service that's needed for like an air conditioner or something like that, basically what they're being educated on is when they come to the house, if they're going to service something in the kitchen or the bathroom, if it's a plumbing, electrical issue or whatever it is, they're just going to ask that people are not in the same room at the same time. But of course, these inspectors, they have to have the right, mask on. They need to have rubber gloves. They need to go through, the necessary steps in order to protect themselves. So there's no real, there's no real set laws or anything. You just kind of have to use common sense. And again, you kind of have to, talk to your seller, talk to your buyer, talk to your inspectors, talk to your appraiser, talk to people, and you have to kind of work that out.
Now, there is a health questionnaire that you should be getting signed, which you can probably Google to find it. So for what Ryan's talking about, you can just Google, if you're in Broward County, every ordinance is different. So just Google the COVID-19 Broward County ordinance and read through it. We've been reading it. Every time a new one comes out, we read it. But there is a health questionnaire that you get them to fill out, whether they visited certain types of countries, whether they've been feeling ill. And a lot of that is really going to be used, that if you got that signed and you were to come down with COVID-19, unfortunately, they're going to ask you, who did you see? Where did you go? Who did you talk to? So you're going to want to be able to track back. Now, it's not the law. You're not going to have to, but you want to be able to track back. Who did you meet with? Who did you see?
Yeah,
your family members, your friends, your business associates, like where did they go, to be able to get that spider of all of the people you were in contact with, to basically alert them that you've come down with COVID-19. So you probably want to get that questionnaire filled out and keep a log. I tell people, keep a log of everyone that you've been in contact with. For me, it's real easy. It's my employees and my family, and that's it. But for some people, it's not as easy. If you're out showing properties, the appraiser's there, the homeowner's there, just keep a log of who you're meeting. It's very important. You may or may not need it later.
And I'll tell you guys this too, as a wholesaler, Anish and I have a couple of properties that, Independence Title's working on getting title work and everything done so we can get clear to close, and he and I are going to wholesale both properties. And the reality is that, I know there's this COVID-19 addendum that says basically you can get all of these extra contingencies a way to get out of the contract. Well, guess what? If we get 2 offers, or if we get 5 offers or whatever, whatever offers have the COVID-19 addendum are probably going to be put at the bottom of the pile, because the reality is that I still want my 0-day inspections. I want 0 contingencies. I'm going to keep your deposit if you don't close on the property. Send me proof of funds. And if you've got the cash, then we've got a green light. If you don't have the cash and you're waiting on a hard money lender, that's your problem, because I'm not signing the COVID-19 when I'm selling a property. And even if I buy, if I'm buying a property, Anish and I put a wholesale deal in contract, or if one of our students gets a motivated seller, I'm not concerned about the COVID-19 contract, because first of all, we're not applying for financing. We buy properties cash. Second of all, my contingency of having my inspection days overrides anything. On a FAR as is contract, I can put 15 days inspection. If I leave it blank, it's automatically defaulted to 15 days. And if I'm only 10 days in my inspection period and we can't find a buyer, guess what? I can back out of that deal and get my deposit back without any issues. It doesn't matter if we're in a COVID pandemic or not.
Now remember, this COVID addendum was basically drafted prior to us opening back up to some extent. It was also drafted for more the traditional buy-sell deals. When you talk about a closing date, the closing date's probably not going to be extended. They were thinking the banks are going to shut down, the inspectors can't inspect, you can't get homeowners insurance. Insurance companies are open writing policies, the lenders are open drafting documents, the appraisers are open doing appraisals, the title companies are open doing title searches. And the only one big challenge that we are seeing, which it does talk about in here, is homeowners associations, which most investors aren't buying in, talking about being able to get the HOA approval. That's really the only clause on there that I see could potentially be a problem, because everyone else is still open. But even now, they are they're doing Zoom interviews and issuing certificates of approval. So I really don't think, in my opinion, this pertains. They were thinking more of a global lockdown like it was in New York, and the streets aren't empty here. People are working. And
the streets aren't empty, the beaches aren't empty. People are out there surfing. I can go out on my balcony right now and see in the ocean and see a bunch of surfers.
Everyone's and the reality is just be careful. We're following a lot on the statistics of the data and how many deaths and how many new cases and where the clusters are and all this. Guys, all you need to do is you just put on a mask. We have these masks we wear. We're actually getting ones with our logo done. But just cover up your mouth. It goes by human, by coughing and sneezing. So wash your hands, keep your hand sanitizer around. We have those too. If you want one, you come pick one up. But hand sanitizer, wash your hands, wash your phone, wear a mask. And if you need to go visit a house, just put a mask on. Just cover your mouth and your nose and wash your hands well, and you're going to be okay. The percentage of deaths are very low in Broward County. They're very low in the state of Florida compared
Don't
to
feel
other
bad.
areas.
Yeah. And don't feel bad about not shaking people's hands and things. I've been giving the 6-foot elbow, from 6 feet away. So
we do the foot now. Make a joke about it. We do the foot bump now. We just bump feet. I don't even want to get close.
I don't even get that close, man. I'm still keeping my 6 foot.
Elbows is too close. Elbows is way too close. We do the foot bump. Maybe that would be 6 feet. But that's going to be the new norm. I said if we were to open up May 1st, I think they should do federally mandated. If you're out in public, you cover your face for 60 days or you get a ticket, like jaywalking. Maybe that's how we can get back to normal, because the reality is until we open back up, things won't get back to normal. And the longer we stay closed, the bigger the problem's going to be, because we know that federal money is not being given where it needs to go. That's a whole other webinar.
What I was going to add also, I know Kevin and myself are married. My wife really didn't like the elbow thing. I was like, hey, I'm social distancing. She wasn't thrilled about that. So
I don't kiss my wife. I don't. That's a whole other topic. I don't kiss. I kiss her on the head. She's like, oh, you don't kiss me. I'm like, no, because I don't want to even take the chance that we're spreading anything.
Absolutely.
Even if it's a little
you guys have to look forward to when this is all over. Okay, last 30 seconds each. Anish,
wait. I got a couple questions. I did say that I was going to go live with these questions. So I have someone asking, do we have any idea if the market prices for home will drop? And if so, how far do you think it'll drop? And when should we start buying?
Here, let me get my crystal ball out.
So one of the things dropped a little bit. I don't think it's major. I think it's going to drop a little bit only because the inventory is down. Some people are running scared. So, my opinion is that, yes, it's going to be a little bit of a drop. And whether it comes back or it puts us right and it stays steady through the end of the year and then it puts us into a global downturn, we don't know. But the reality is interest rates are at an all-time low. Property values are still holding steady. And like Ryan said, there is no crystal ball. We don't know if there was a crystal ball, we'd be multi-billionaires.
Yeah. What I'd also add to that is, remember, stop looking at the macroeconomics, right? You're looking at one house, one neighborhood. There's a ton of our buyers that are still buying. They're buy and hold. So they don't care. They're looking at cash flow. For them, it's still a discount. While everyone else, again, is running away, this is a great time to get in. We're actually ramping up our business. Our big buyers specifically called, hey, Nish, you got anything? We're in still, So maybe they're doing a little bit of a price adjustment. Absolutely. Should you be a little bit more conservative on your rehab options? Your after repair value. Yeah, be a little bit more conservative. But at the end of the day, people are still buying. People still need homes. So I'm all in. Obviously, we're all in, and we're still buying. I know, Kevin, you said you probably did over 50 closings this past month. The investors are still buying. Is what I'm saying.
Yeah, guys, listen. Okay. The reality is that if you've got a homeowner that really wants to sell, and they're motivated to sell, and you can't see the inside, you can't get showings and things, then you have to be a little bit conservative on your numbers, because you have to think that the person that's going to buy it, their mindset is that, well, I'm buying this property sight unseen. I'm going to need a little bit of a discount. But like Anish said, take it case by case. Look at the property. Do your analysis on it. We were doing ARV times 0.75 minus rehab costs. We told our students that they could start to lower that to 0.65. So ARV times 0.65 minus your rehab costs. And that's a starting place. It doesn't mean that you still can't offer more, because in the end, when you put it in contract, if someone buys it, you make money, great. If they don't buy it, then you have your contingencies to be able to get out of that. So,
and part of that to remember is just adjusting your cost is going to teach you financial safety for when this happens again. One of the things that we talked about earlier, we were able to just turn off what we knew was the added extra expenses in order to get through this pandemic, because we didn't know what was going to happen if we got shut down completely. So by just adjusting your expenses a little bit will set you up for the next market cycle whenever that comes. So it's almost like good homework to do right now.
Yeah. And I just threw a quick poll. So obviously, to see how many of you guys think the COVID-19 pandemic, after it slows down, is it going to be time for cash real estate investors here in South Florida? I'll share the results in a little bit. But the idea is, most of you guys are thinking it's a great time.
It's a great time.
Absolutely. And you should be. Everybody should be thinking this is a great time. I can tell you right now, that, you know, we already know that there is going to be a flood of homeowners facing foreclosures. Pre-foreclosures are going to pop up everywhere. The banks do not care. They're not going to be sympathetic to families and people because they just lost their jobs. They want their money, period. It's the same thing in the crash of the market. You know, people were committing suicide and everything else back in 2007 and 8. The banks don't care. So don't fool yourself thinking that there's going to be, you know, some type of like, oh, there's going to be a bailout. No, the money's gone. The money's being given away to corporations, to wealthy people. It's not being given to anybody to really help them. So there's going to be major opportunities in real estate. I would stake my name on it.
Yeah, so I'm going to give you.
We got it. So we got it. It was given to us. So it is being given, but very, very few. What the caveat there is bank small. If you bank big, you got nothing.
Yeah, and I'm just going to give you some stats to give you an idea. So for every 10% of unemployment, that leads to about 1.5 million to 2 million people behind on their mortgages. So we're over 10%. Right now, I just saw something from Fannie Mae. They're saying almost 3 million people are putting a stop on their payments nationally. To put this in perspective, the Great Recession in 2008, it took us 2 years to get to 2 million people. So we've done that in 30 days. So it kind of, you're like, whoa. Yeah. So, you know, if you could really understand where you're at and why it's a good time if you're a cash buyer, right? So I know it's all scary. I hate to say it, you know, I know what it's feeling. Maybe you're going through it, right? You maybe lost your job. Ryan and I, you know, I know Kevin, same thing. We've lost everything. And you know, the thing I always tell everyone is if I could tell my old self back then in 2008 or 2009, hey, everything's going to be okay. You know, not to worry so much. Keep hanging in there. I wish, you know, I could do that today because, you know, we came out of this, you know, with flying colors. We're doing better, all three of us. So that could be you. I know I know it feels bleak, especially if you're watching the news all day. It always feels like disaster TV. So, you know, the idea is to change that mindset of what you're feeling too.
Listen, my wife hated me for the first 2 weeks of COVID-19 because, you know, I was scared. I was scared to make sure we were going to be able to maintain payroll. You know, now we don't live this big lavish lifestyle, you know, so we knew we had enough to cover us, but we were like, what if we're shut down for 90 days, 120 days? You know, we were more worried. Like I couldn't sleep at night worried that we'd have to put employees out of work and have to let people go and, you know, readjust. We'd be fine, but they wouldn't be, which is very important to us to make sure, you know. So, I mean, you know, if you're scared out there, it's okay. We're all scared. We are all scared. And if you're one of the 100+ people watching this and you email our office in and tell me you want a copy of Rescue Your Business, I will personally get you the physical copy of my book. If you've stayed on this long, you've earned it. My office will mail out today. All you have to do is say Rescue Your Business with your name and address, and we will mail you out a physical copy of my book, not a PDF, the physical book for you to read, to see what I suffered through in 2008, 2009. I went all out and wrote about it. And hopefully, if you're going through some challenges, that will help you understand that you will be okay, just like the three of us are now. You're going to be speaking about it in 3, 4, 5 years from now once you master this business.
There you go. All right, guys. Well, listen, also.
I got one last poll. I got one little last poll. So, you know, make sure, remember, I see a couple of Kevin for president. So, you know, I know we're just kind of messing around, but, you know, obviously,
we got nothing else to do. Well, where are we going? We got nowhere else to go. We might as well mess around a little bit. You know, listen, it's all about, you know, if that 66% or whatever the number was of newbies are here, that means you may have lost your job. You're trying to figure it out. And there's no one better than the three of us to help teach you. So even if we went a little bit over time, I'm proud to take the time and honored to sit here and be able to educate you a little bit more, because we are going to be okay. If I tell you my 10 staff members are okay, my staff members that are overseas are okay, I have friends of mine that work on cruise ships, they're okay. We are going to be okay. It's just how do we get through it, and what opportunities are there when we come out on the other side in a positive manner. If you watch the news, the doom and gloom, it's going to kill you.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, and some of the things like, so, you know, Ryan and I are committed, you know, obviously through this pandemic, to keep working, educating. So I know some of you guys, this might be your first webinar, so we definitely want to thank you. We do have text messages, so if you're not on our text message system, again, we're not going to spam you to death. If you're like us, you probably get 100, 200 emails, 300 emails, and you forget. So you can opt in. It's right on the screen. We do have, I think, we have a couple more events coming up next Tuesday. Actually, we're doing how to find big profits off market properties. We have our national speaker, Alan Cowhill, and I had some questions about private lending. So we have a lot of upcoming events too. So for us, it's important that, you know, you're part of our organization throughout the process.
And guys, people ask us about our events and upcoming events. It's very, very simple. Go to breia.com, BREIA.com, go to upcoming events, the tab at the top, and there is a calendar in there that has all of our upcoming events. You can click on them, you can get all the information, and you can find out. Most of the events are free, and you can register right online for those as well. So
yeah, and for anyone putting in the chat your name that you want the book, that doesn't do me any good. I need you to email me at the email address below, info@titlerate.com or Kevin@titlerate, or find me on Facebook. I'm all over Facebook. Just find me there. Send me your name and email and property address, and I will mail you a copy of the book. You know, and now more than ever, I have what's called Zoom exhaustion. I am so exhausted from Zoom that pretty much every 2-3 hours I'm on another Zoom call. So, you know, that's the new norm, and just get used to it. And you're getting so much education, free education, that it's fantastic.
You know what, Ryan? If Kevin's giving away something, we should probably do something too. How about for our membership for the $249? How about we take $50 off if you want to be? So with you guys that are not members and you want to become members of BREIA and the Miami-Dade BREIA, it's usually $249. You can email us or go to our website, but our promo code will be until, I guess, tomorrow. I'll keep it until tomorrow. Save 50. So if you email me, I'll put, you know, my email address is right on the screen also. We'll also get you signed up too. I can't have Kevin be the only one giving away stuff.
Listen, $50 and
type the promo code in the chat there for them, Anish, too.
Okay, yeah, absolutely.
$50 and a free book. And I will tell you that when Dave mails them out, he usually puts in some other goodies. So I just say the book, but he usually fills that envelope as much as he can put in there for you. So you'll get some other goodies as well. So.
And I know that Keith just asked about a $100 special group here today. Let me tell you something. A member to our organization, all kidding aside, is going to get you a lot more than $100 because you're going to get a lot more value and education that is going to help you in getting into real estate, or if you have a real estate business already, it's just going to help you move forward in that real estate business as well. So.
On a side note, Kevin, 29% of the people think you should be president. So.
You know, I was gonna. So my wife's godfather was the mayor of Vaughan up in Canada. She's from Canada, so I always said, you know, her mother before she passed away was very involved in politics. So I said, I'm going to run for mayor of my local town and start there. And she's like, absolutely not. And it's a lot of work, but I'm happy to get on these calls and motivate people and, you know, do whatever we can do to, you know, just make a difference, you know, because that's the whole idea, right? It's all about making a difference.
100%. So, well, Kevin, thank you very much for the time today. Anish and I greatly appreciate it. Thanks to all of you guys that joined us today. Hope you guys learned something. Make sure that you go to breia.com to look up upcoming events. We're going to, like Anish said, we're going to be presenting on April the 28th. I believe that is at 11 a.m., right, Anish?
Yep, 11 a.m.
How to find off-market deals and make big profits with it. Anish and I just had an off-market deal that we closed on and sold a week and a half ago during this quarantine, and we made about 50 grand. So there you go. If you want to learn how to do that, we'll see you guys next Tuesday, April the 28th. Everybody stay safe. Everybody stay healthy. Thank you again for joining us today, and see you guys soon.
Thank you. We'll talk soon. Have a good day, everyone.
Thanks, guys.